This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we're going to make sun-dried tomatoes using the Lequip FilterPro Dehydrator. Now the Lequip FilterPro Dehydrator is the world's first filtered air dehydrator. So what that means is all the air that goes through the machine is filtered so it doesn't pick up any extra dust or any contamination. So you get perfect food every time. And let's go over some of the features of the Lequip Dehydrator really quick. So the Lequip FilterPro Dehydrator has 6 trays, and this is how it is. This is a vertical airflow system. All the heat sources at the bottom in the base, and the air flows up from the bottom to the top. You can see each tray has a little bit different thickness. We have the thin trays here, and then on the bottom here we have the thicker trays. So what the thicker trays allow you to do is you could make yogurts in the thicker trays. They give you some yogurt containers, as well as dehydrating like thick pieces of watermelon. Even thick pieces of watermelon will dehydrate down into a real thin piece. Then let's see, on this tray here, we have a couple of the fruit roll-ups, or you could do vegetable roll-ups. So if you're doing fruit roll-ups, you would basically just blend up some bananas and strawberries, or any other fruit you desire. In a blender, you'd get basically a smoothie type mixture. You'd pour it onto the tray and dehydrate, and you'd get a fruit roll. So you could also do the same thing with vegetables. You could blend up the vegetables and then put them on the fruit roll-up sheet, and you'll get vegetable roll-ups, which then you could actually powder up once it's in its dried state into like green powders and vegetable powders. This is good for eating plain and rehydrating in water, or using in soups for flavoring. So before we talk about the base of the dehydrator, I want to tell you about the recipe booklet and instruction guide that comes with each dehydrator. Basically, this booklet gives you instructions on specifically how to dehydrate all your fruits and vegetables, meats, fish and poultry, make beef jerky, even make things like potpourri and dehydrate your herbs, and it tells you all the time. So there's nice little charts in here that'll tell you, certain herbs take, 1 hour or 3 hours to dehydrate, and fruits can take 6 to 12 hours or longer. So the trick to that is it's always time and temperature. So the lower the temperature, the longer the time, the hotter the temperature, the shorter the time, and also how thick you slice your produce that you're dehydrating. The thicker the slice, the longer the time. The thinner the slice, the less time it's going to take. Many people buy dehydrators actually to preserve their food. So I'm a gardener and I love to garden. I grow lots of food in my garden and I can't possibly eat it all, and so I dehydrate my excess produce, my excess in-season produce. So right now it's tomato season. I have lots of tomatoes. I just can't possibly eat them all, and dehydration is the best way, in my opinion, to preserve your foods. With canning, you have to heat it up to high temperatures, and it's multi-steps. With this, you basically, and we're going to do this, we're going to just cut the tomatoes up, put them in the dehydrator, turn it on, and in 12 hours we're going to come back. It's going to be finished. There it is. We bag those sun-dried tomatoes up into a Ziploc bag, or even better yet, a glass mason jar with a tight lid, and tighten that up. It has to be an airtight container, and those sun-dried tomatoes will store at least a year, no problem. And have you priced sun-dried tomatoes lately? I have, and they could run $12 or more a pound, and that's just insane. So when you grow them yourself, or you even go to a farmer's market or buy the case at a time, you could get them for really affordable, and then you could have sun-dried tomatoes, or that intense tomato flavor in the wintertime when tomatoes aren't in season and we're getting those pink tomatoes that bounce off the ground and really don't taste like tomatoes. You could also preserve your other fruits. So whether you have stone fruits, apples, pears, or even you could make orange rounds, and they look really cool. They look really pretty. You just take an orange and slice them up, and they just look so cool for decoration or to eat. They're so good. We're also today going to dehydrate some bananas and make banana chips. And I don't know about you, but I've recently checked the price of banana chips, and they're a couple dollars a pound. Bananas, you could get ripe bananas in the little bags for, I don't know, literally 30 cents a pound or less sometimes. Make your own fresh banana chips that don't contain any additives or oil. So many banana chips you get are actually crunchy, and that's because they'd actually been fried in oil. So we all know frying in oil is not that healthy for us. We want to eat things in their most natural state as possible. And aside from fresh fruits, dehydrating them, in my opinion, is the best way to eat our foods. because they're not going to have any extra preservatives when you make them in your home. And basically the only thing they're missing is the water. And one of the tricks to dehydration is after you dehydrate it, you could actually take it and then soak it back in water so that it'll reabsorb and rehydrate and be really good. So some of the uses for dehydrated produce is you could actually reconstitute it and put it into soups. Of course, the dried fruits and fruit roll-ups are just great for snacking. Dehydration is a great tool to preserve your food. You can do it at a low temperature, so you will preserve the enzymes. So you could also preserve the enzymes, and it said the enzymes start to get deranged and non-functional at 118 degrees. So you could set this dehydrator at 118 degrees and it'll stay there, so you could be ensured to preserve all the enzymes, which are so good for us. Now let's go over the base of the dehydrator. Now the base carries a full 10 years manufacturer warranty. So should any electronic component go out, or should it not heat, or the fan not turn on, it's going to be covered for 10 years, and there's no reason to buy an extended warranty when you get a full 10-year warranty. So let's check out the base. So here's the base here, and you can see here, this is the filter element. You easily just pop it out, and the filter element can be changed. It does come with one extra filter element. Now these filter elements are reusable. You just take them out simply and wash them and make sure they dry completely. Then you'd actually just put it through the machine. So all the air is sucked into the bottom of the machine. It's then heated up in the heating elements. The air is then blown with a fan up through the dehydrator trays. The manufacturer claims that no tray rotation is required when you're using up to 12 trays. And this machine can handle up to 20 trays tall, so you could expand it and really dehydrate a lot of food. The other thing that's really nice is it has a LED temperature readout. So you could set the temperature and it'll maintain the temperature that you set. It is a computer controlled with a microprocessor, and you can adjust the temperature and it's going to stay at where you set it. So that's a really nice feature as well, and it'll constantly tell you the temperature where it's at. So with that, let's go ahead and plug it in and let's get dehydrating. So now let's slice up our tomatoes and put them in the dehydrator and get dehydrating. It's very simple and very easy. Let's see, you're just going to take a tomato and we're going to slice it into about 1/4 inch slices. Very simple. I like to use a nice serrated knife. Makes the slicing very easy, and use a sawing type motion as I am. If you use a standard knife, especially if one that's not very dull, you're going to get the juice to basically explode all over your cutting board. And we want to get that juice in the dehydrator and not on your cutting board, because the juice will dehydrate out, and that's where you get the intense flavor. So you can see here we just have the tray, and we're simply going to put the pieces of tomato basically right next to each other. It's real simple. Try not to overlap them, and leave a little bit of space between them. And we're going to come back and we're going to have some good sun-dried tomatoes. And there you go. Let's continue on, and I'm going to cut up the rest of these tomatoes. So there you go. Here's our first tray of tomatoes. We're going to put in the dehydrator. It's very important not to really overlap your tomatoes. They can be touching a little bit on the sides there, because they're going to actually shrink and get smaller as they dehydrate, as the water content is slowly evaporated off. Now, dehydrated foods have been eaten for thousands of years. They didn't always have dehydrators like we have now, but they had to do it in the sun. So they would sun dry their foods as an ancient way of food preparation. And now with the Lequip FilterPro dehydrator, you could do that in your own home really easily. So now we're going to put the tray onto the dehydrator, and we could turn the dehydrator on. So simply we're going to press the power button. As you can see, we have 2 readouts. One is set to 23 hours, so that is our countdown timer. I'm going to go ahead and set that to 12 hours, because in about 12 hours or even less, the dehydrator will be done. And I'm going to change the temperature down to 118 degrees, so people that are concerned with living in raw foods and making sure and ensuring the food still contains its enzymes, will be good. So now what we'll do is we'll just take the top on and we'll put it on the dehydrator. Now, it's pretty much a waste, in my opinion, to run the dehydrator with one tray on it. You're going to pay about the same amount of electricity whether you're, dehydrating one tray or all 6. So it's always best to fill up your dehydrator to the max and then run it. Next tray we're going to do is we're going to do bananas. So banana chips, 100% bananas, and that's one of the good things about dehydration and making dehydrated foods in your own home. You can control what's going in it. You know, you don't have to put those preservatives, you don't have to put those sulfides. You could have 100% natural foods that are going to be health building for you and your family. So let's go ahead and cut up some bananas here. We got some fairly ripe bananas, and we're simply going to take the banana and peel it, open it up. Now, it's very important to get as ripe a produce as you possibly can when using the dehydrator. Now, why is that? Well, basically, the sweeter the produce is now before it's dehydrated, the sweeter it's going to get after it's dehydrated. So if you start out with things like bananas that are unripe, the dehydrator is not really going to make them like that much better. So we want to start out with the bananas that are fully ripe, tomatoes that are as ripe as possible, as well as other things. So let's go ahead and peel this banana, and we're just going to simply slice this banana up into about 1/4 inch slices, 1/4 inch width slices. And once again, I'm using a nice serrated knife, but bananas are fairly easy to cut. And you know, you could dehydrate pretty much any kind of fruit in the dehydrator. One of the cool things to do is actually watermelon. I love to dehydrate watermelon. Now you can cut the watermelon a little bit thicker, probably like about like that, because when it dehydrates, it'll dehydrate down and be real thin. So I just finished cutting up that banana, and now let's go ahead and put our banana slices on the tray. And you know, you want to leave a little bit of space in between each banana. You know, if you put them next to each other, barely touching, that's probably all right too. But you know what? The dehydration works best if there's air circulation, you know, between the fruits. And that's why we want to space them out a little bit. And these are going to make some yummy, delicious banana chips. Now, bananas I've seen can cost as low as 30 cents a pound. You want to, once again, get these in the bags that are the overripes and take them home immediately, and then cut them up and dehydrate them. And they're going to be really sweet and really good. So it looks like one banana filled about 1/4 of the tray, so we're going to go ahead and slice up 3 more bananas. And besides just dehydrating whole bananas and make your own banana chips, you can actually cut them lengthwise, and it's going to take a little bit longer to dehydrate that way, but basically make whole, you know, half bananas. That's really cool. Or you can take the bananas and blend them up, and then put them on one of these fruit roll-up trays to make banana fruit roll-ups, and every kid loves fruit roll-ups. And you know what, if you priced them in the store lately, they're really expensive. So I just got finished slicing all the bananas and arranging them on the tray. We're going to go ahead and put this in the dehydrator, and what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the top. And the reason for that is because when you're dehydrating every different things in the dehydrator, such as tomatoes and bananas, sometimes the tomatoes will drip, and so we don't want to get all the tomato drips on our bananas. The other question I get a lot is, hey John, will you taste the tomatoes in the banana chips? Well, you might taste a little bit, but for most people it's just not a concern. I've dehydrated different things at one time in the dehydrator, and it hasn't really been a problem unless you start getting the juices on. So we're going to go ahead and put the top on. So the Lequip FilterPro Dehydrator has been running overnight. Now let's check the results. You see we have a tray of dried bananas, and they're not crunchy like the ones you buy in the store, because these are just 100% bananas, and they're not fried, they're just dried. Not fried, dried, and they're really good for you. Next, you can see here we have these sun-dried tomatoes, and you know, sun-dried tomatoes are really expensive to buy, but if you make them yourself, they're really inexpensive. So the last thing I'd like to mention is that the Lequip FilterPro Dehydrator is very energy efficient compared to other dehydrators on the market. It does have a computer control which regulates the temperature, so it only turns the heating element on when it needs to be on and doesn't turn it on when it doesn't need to. It's constantly recirculating air, so air comes up through the trays, it hits the roof, and then basically funnels back down to make like a convection. And then some of the air is escaped, because there does need to be some air escape for the moisture to basically get out of the dehydrator. So hopefully if you learned more about the Lequip FilterPro Dehydrator today. This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.